Brad, customers ask about BVMS and how it works with third-party cameras. We've talked a lot about Bosch cameras and the benefits of Bosch cameras in the system so far. What happens when we go to a customer and they say, love those Bosch cameras, want to get a lot of Bosch cameras, but my budget can't afford for me to replace the cameras that I already have. Can they work in BVMS?
Absolutely. So the answer is yes. So within the BVMS environment, there is a service called Video Streaming Gateway, which VSG. That's what we would speak to it as. And its role is to basically take in third-party devices, and it can do that a number of ways. Either via OnViv, if you wanted stream plus maybe some motion or alarm type events to come in from that device, assuming it's capable. Or if you weren't sure and you had some fixed cameras out there, we can pull it in via an RTSP stream. The point is there is a way to bridge that, right? So if you have someone who's really interested in a BVMS environment, they want to make that move there. They have, like you said, endpoints that aren't Bosch cameras right now. Maybe they're looking at that in the future. Do we have a means of doing that? And yes, we do that through VSG. The nice thing is that implementing VSG doesn't necessarily mean you lose a lot. It's just a different manner, right? So, for instance, VRM is going to handle a VSG instance of cameras, and it will still give you the load balancing and distribution and fault tolerance of your storage pool, but it's just not going to be per device, right? It's going to be per VSG instance. Each instance can do up to 32 cameras, so that's how it would treat that.
So VSG, from my perspective, kind of gets us back into the world of NVRs, because we have to route camera data through this VSG instance, and then that VSG instance is able to communicate with the iSCSI storage device.
Yeah, essentially that's the case. You're ingesting the stream into the VSG server instance, but the nice thing is you have VRM sitting behind that, and VRM is again taking part of the management piece of things, and for the recording, it's just not per device. It's for a group of devices at that point, until the customer gets to the point where they're able to maybe upgrade and refresh their field hardware.
Where does VSG exist?
So VSG can exist on it's a service that needs to exist on a Windows platform, right? So whether that be a virtual machine or like here we have a physical server, depending on the amount of cameras that you need to bring in or that you need the system to handle, we're going to make recommendations as to how you should segment that out, right? Maybe we don't want just one server handling a whole 200 devices, right? Maybe we want to segment that out so that if something again happens, we're not losing everything, and that we're able to segment that off, maybe prioritize, or just because of resources, right? Like you said, we're ingesting video, kind of similar to what an NVR would do. So we have to be conscious of resource management.
I know Bosch has a list that they maintain and they test of third-party devices. Do we have any other recommendations that we take into consideration and we do when it comes to third-party products?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got these requests all the time where someone's curious on if BVMS will support this or not. And I mean, it takes time for manufacturers to update these lists, right? So you send us the camera, work with us, and we'll test it. We'll test it in the version that you're planning to implement of BVMS and the VSG version that was part of that release, and we'll go through and give you at least, we're looking for basic functionality, live video, PTZ, if it's a PTZ camera, playback, are we recording? If all of that goes through relatively smoothly, then you're going to get a thumbs up, a green light from us.
But we're going to test it before we...
Absolutely, every time.
Do we ever have applications where customers don't have any Bosch cameras and all their cameras are third party?
Yeah, we do. And again, like I was saying earlier, that's kind of, and if they're interested in maybe refreshing their head-end system and are interested in the BVMS platform, this is how we bridge that gap. And we aren't going to require you to go out and replace every field device. We realize that's not always a reasonable request, right? Or there's budgets, there's all these things you have to consider. So VSG is our stepping stone to get to that point, right? And it gives you that time to be able to change those out over time.
Well, I appreciate you explaining third-party interface to BVMS for me.
Absolutely.